What would you do if you had only one piece of bread left and a hungry stranger knocked on your door? Most people would choose themselves, but one poor man made a different choice, and it changed his life forever. In a quiet village surrounded by tall green forests lived a poor woodcutter named Jacob. Every morning before sunrise, he picked up his old axe and walked for miles into the woods. His work was hard, but his heart remained kind. Jacob spent the entire day cutting firewood under the hot sun. By evening, he carried the heavy bundle to the village market. But that day, very few people bought wood. After hours of waiting, he earned only enough money to buy a single loaf of bread. As the cold wind blew through the empty streets, Jacob quietly walked home. His stomach growled with hunger. He hadn't eaten since sunrise. A small loaf of bread was the only food he had. Inside his tiny wooden cabin, Jacob lit a small candle and placed the bread on the table. He smiled softly, thankful that at least he had something to eat tonight. Just as Jacob reached for the bread, knock, knock, knock. He slowly opened the door. Standing outside was an old traveler, soaked by the rain and shivering from the freezing cold. "Please," the old man whispered, "haven't eaten in 2 days." It was all he had. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then a gentle smile appeared on his face. He picked up the loaf, broke it into 2 pieces, quietly handed the larger piece to the stranger. Jacob looked at the old man, then at the bread on his table. It was all he had. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then a gentle smile appeared on his face. He picked up the loaf, broke it into 2 pieces, and quietly handed the larger piece to the stranger. The old traveler looked at Jacob with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered softly. "May your kindness return to you when you need it the most." Jacob simply smiled. "Safe travels," he replied. The old man disappeared into the dark, rainy night. Jacob closed the door. He looked at the small piece of bread that remained on the table. It wasn't much, but somehow his heart felt full. That night, he went to bed hungry. Cold wind blew outside his tiny cabin. Yet, for the first time in many days, he slept peacefully. The next morning, the golden sunlight slowly filled the forest. Jacob picked up his old axe and walked toward the woods once again. Life hadn't changed. He was still poor. He still had to work hard just to survive. As he searched for a good tree to cut, something unusual caught his eye. Near the roots of a large oak tree, a small leather bag lay hidden beneath the fallen leaves. Jacob carefully placed the gold coins back into the leather bag. For a moment, he thought about all the things he could buy: a larger house, new clothes, or a life without hunger. But then, he remembered the cold, hungry traveler standing outside his door. He smiled quietly. Instead of keeping all the gold for himself, Jacob made a different choice. Over the following weeks, he repaired broken homes for families who had nowhere to live. He bought warm blankets for elderly people before winter arrived. He filled empty tables with fresh bread for children who often went to sleep hungry. Soon, the entire village began to notice. People who had once ignored each other started helping one another. Kindness spread from one heart to another. The village became stronger, not because of wealth, because people finally cared for each other. Years later, children would gather around Jacob and ask, "How did you become the happy?" Never be afraid to help someone, even when you have very little. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness creates the biggest change. The world becomes a better place, one kind heart at a time. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Quiet Lessons for more inspiring stories that remind us what truly matters.